Hello, welcome to another Near Running Cast. As always, my name is Johno, and I'm joined once again by James. How you doing, James?
Yeah, good. Thanks, John.
So, this game is the second semi-final, the losers semi-final, for the right to play Stu in the final of the BABW Reading Qualifier. And on the left, returning to our screens, is Joey, Neo Joey Cast. We have Joey on the left playing Noise. And on the right hand side, he's going up against Laurie Poulter, who also has had a few appearances
Just
playing
a
RP.
few, Joey.
Yeah, playing RP. So, now these guys actually played a little earlier in the eliminations the other way around. So Laurie was in fact the player who knocked Joey into the losers bracket. So Joey's now trying to fight his way back out, faces Laurie again. What do you make of Laurie's opening here? So we play a hedge fund, which is pretty reasonable. Icing HQ and the remote. He installed a remote. He didn't mulligan, so I guess we don't expect he's flooded or anything. As we see, cerebral static, which is very interesting in
I
English.
guess you don't want to get that in if he drops an int to someone.
Yeah, that's true. And check on R&D, but I didn't see what it was. So Joey now quite recklessly installed a data sucker and immediately ran. He ran HQ. So he did this in a previous video as well, where he kind of recklessly ran straight into HQ on turn 1. I've actually seen footage from the US Nationals final where Pacer, who's obviously quite a famous noise player, he also did that. And it does pay to be aggressive, but he hit a Cortex lock earlier. It seems dangerous.
I don't understand that kind of play.
You check the uniced centrals, I guess.
Until you've got what you kind of vaguely need out of your opening hand and have drawn back up again, I think.
And he didn't check the remote. Is there any value? It wasn't iced. Is there any value in checking the remote?
I think we know that Laurie was running a 3-2 on the day. He was running...
That's right. He was, yes. Now, Joey may not have.
Philotic entanglement.
Philotic, yeah.
So, not for the kill, just for the cheeky win.
Cheeky 2 points, yeah. So, I mean, Joey must have assumed it was a mental health. It could have been Jackson also, I suppose. Which I guess you do want to kind of go after.
If you're playing Noise, I guess flushing out the Jackson as soon as possible is pretty sensible.
Although, of course, it doesn't really matter because Laurie's played the cerebral static, which means that Noise does nothing. All these viruses.
What's going on with the street peddler on the left? Has he tucked the cards underneath?
I think he used it but didn't trash the peddler. Yeah, the peddler's just still on the table. I think he will clean it up. He used it to install the wild side.
So the cerebral static's gone down, which is obviously good for Laurie.
Yeah, I mean, so Joey's going to need to try and clear that as quickly as possible because a lot of his game plan will revolve around the accesses you get from mills.
You put this in the deck basically for this possible situation. Noise is not a particularly fun matchup for RP, and this is where you're getting absolutely the most out of that card.
And it's good. I mean, currents are good out of RP in particular because RP is very hard to steal agendas from RP. They're hard to come by.
So I think Laurie was also running ELP.
Yes, we've seen ELP in previous games. Yeah, so I think he put in a couple. I mean, ELP is just good in replicating perfection anyway.
Oh, for sure. I think people have kind of
obviously
forgotten how good that card actually is.
It costs the extra click to run, which just adds to the click tax. Cerebral static is not as directly beneficial for replicating perfection, but it's obviously very good against an anarch heavy meta, which it was.
This matchup
against Noise, but also against Max.
Very, very strong card for the people we saw in the card on the day.
And it was all Noise and Max, basically. I mean,
it was six Noise, 1 Max, and 1 Wizard. I think was the runner representation.
Yeah, so it's got me good against Wizard as well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, good. Wizard without an ID ability, just so sad.
Yeah. True. Well, that's true of all of them. So, sure. I mean, so Joey hasn't installed any viruses since it went down. Do you get the feeling that he's kind of letting them build up in hand? We can see a couple as he riffles his hand. Do you get the feeling he might be letting them build up in hand so that he can, when he finally kills it, he can install a bunch of viruses at once?
I don't know. I mean, I think you have to try and get an access to turn it off.
Yeah.
And he's probably going to play this cash because otherwise he's going to have no money.
No mill, but it will make money, and obviously he can. I mean, he's looking for ESOPs. So
I mean, ESOPs feels like the priority right now.
Yeah.
He's not getting the incidental mills from the game plan, but yeah.
No, it's a
we're
shame.
gonna
I
lose
mean,
the Eli here.
so that's 2 mils right there. Not that he's lost out.
I'm not
That's
really
another
sad.
Eli, which you can't break.
I'm not really sad about Noise me losing out on a few mills. You're not going to find much sympathy here.
Okay, all right. Okay, so Joey, obviously, as you say, trying to go after that Eli is quite an annoying one. We know that he kind of revolves a little bit around Faust, so it's not the best.
It's still a
taxing.
very good piece of ice.
Yeah, it's a good piece of ice. So, but the second Eli kind of put pace to that. He's going to struggle to trash both. He could run next turn or clip one.
He has the clone chip, so
yeah, that's right. So he can kill it next turn. Install on archives.
well, probably a crit.
It must be a crick, I guess. Yeah, there's no reason. Currently.
I mean, it stops. It could be something else actually. Stop him farming the data sucker tokens. It might be a.
That's
plus or
true.
something
Yeah,
like
that is
at
true.
this point.
Or even just the RP ability. You know, he wants
Yeah,
to put
exactly.
something on each central.
I think Laurie's in a really strong position here. He's got time now. The cerebral static stopped his the effect of Noise putting him on the clock. He can
Yes.
wait, build a remote, and
He can play slow, and
Yeah,
RP
exactly.
does well when it plays slow. Yeah, he doesn't have any remote, so he's gonna have to start building. But
he's not under the time pressure that he would be if he'd not seen that card.
yeah, true. That is true. So what would you do here as Joey? He finds Aesop's.
Well, that's a
help.
great start.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you want
He's
to.
that Faust in hand as well, so
I get the feeling he's trying to pressure R&D so that because
he wants the steal to turn
Yeah.
off the cerebral static.
but he didn't run R&D when he could have. I guess installing the Aesop's was more important. He could have blown up that Eli.
Yeah. There's not. I mean, Laurie might choose to purge next turn, which could be a pain actually for Joey, but we'll see what happens. I mean, 4 data suckers might be worth a purge here. Again, he's not
Yeah,
under any pressure.
it's threatening.
He's getting a little bit of drippy com.
Yeah.
Checking out HQ.
Oh, that is lucky.
Wow.
So cerebral static goes away.
So what
I mean,
is
3
that
points is big.
What is that you don't res on HQ here for?
Maybe it was a 1 in 5, and he's playing his odds. But even still,
I think
you'd
you'd
want
res
to tax
then
him
at that
and
point
yeah.
to try and keep the cerebral static on the board.
I mean, maybe it's just a pop or something.
Still
It doesn't.
if
doesn't
it's a
threaten.
pup, you res it though, Johno. I mean,
Yeah, no, yeah, I agree.
maybe it's a toll booth and he didn't really want to spend all the money.
Yeah, maybe that's more likely. Probably that's quite heavy for HQ.
You'd have, I think I'd have resed it there because actually it depends what's in Joey's heap. If there's a parasite in there, you don't want to res it
Because it could. Yeah, I don't think there is. He has another one in hand. I don't think there's one in the bin. I haven't seen it. So I mean,
Well, game on from Joey now. He's effectively set up. He's got
yeah,
plenty
and now I
of
can
pressure
start milling. Yeah,
across the board.
second for Hades Fragment. Then I know, or at least I believe that you're not a fan of Hades Fragment in
I don't
RP
like it.
because it loses out to say Future Perfect, which defends itself.
I mean, well, you're not replacing a future perfect. You're
With
replacing an
NAPD,
NAPD.
Yeah.
I mean, fundamentally, I think the argument's kind of moot now because anyone that wants to run an extra 3-pointer will just spend the 1 influence on a global food initiative now.
Yeah,
which
maybe that's
is
true,
The
yeah.
best of both worlds.
Yeah, that's true. And cards like Film Critic kind of take away the strength of protective agendas like
Yeah,
NPD and Future Perfect.
Exactly. So
And the ability of Hades is good
it's
against
good
Mill.
against noise
Yeah.
if you can score it, but
Yeah.
obviously Laurie has no.
Yeah, well,
mean,
obviously
well,
can't
if
score it
that-
now. But
I mean, if that had been an NAPD, Joey wouldn't have had the money to steal it, which would meant that Cerebral Static would have stayed on the board, I think.
so we mentioned before that Laurie has Enhanced Login Protocol on the deck, and he's played it now. As he replaces the Arson HQ, so whatever it was, he didn't feel like he was ever going to
That's
res
a
it.
strange one. I wonder
Yeah.
what that was.
Yeah, I can't think. I mean, unless it's just something that was expensive and he thought he'd never res, like it was a Xano or something.
I mean,
but
I think you'd still res that at that point. You can sit there and build up your economy again with Joey locked out.
yeah, I don't know.
know.
Just have to speculate on what it was.
It must have been something expensive, but
But if it was
we
expensive,
might never know, John.
if it's expensive and in the run, maybe you still res it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, so double parasites on R&D. So
So that's R&D getting completely opened up.
getting
this
blown up,
turn.
yeah, and a medium as well. So Joey's decided that he's going to pressure R&D. and his
He's got enough tokens, right? He had 5.
yeah, he can't run though because of ELP.
Well,
so he shouldn't have installed.
That's a mistake.
So he installed the medium before thinking he
You've got
could
to
then
think
run.
Laurie's going to purge this turn, then.
I'd say that's pretty much guaranteed. Yeah. So Jerry has a click free, but
Jerry criticising his own play,
saying he shouldn't install medium. He's right. So I mean,
got greedy, Johno.
Yeah,
greedy with the.
Well, that's I guess that's another strength of Enhanced Logging Protocol. I mean, on the one hand, it makes it very hard to run the remote against RP, but on the other hand,
there's the purge.
Yeah, on the other hand, it just makes it very hard for the runner to do the stuff they want to do before they run, like install medium, bring the surprise pressure.
People haven't been playing it as much in RP. Like it wasn't around as much at Nationals this year. Enhanced Logging Protocol, but it's still a strong card, and I feel like some people have maybe forgotten how effective it is.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, it's influence, I suppose. That's why, and it suits RP most of all. But I think it's still a good card. I played it recently in our Jank tourney. I played it recently because we had
you monster, Johno.
Yeah, I was playing Cerebral Imaging. I was worried there'd be employee strikes around. So specifically tech against that one current. And it was quite good anyway.
It's a strong card.
It's decent. Yeah.
There's quite a lot of good corp currents around at the moment. I mean, I've been playing some New Angeles songs, so I've been enjoying that facet of the game that maybe hasn't been explored enough.
Yeah. So Jerry's kind of set economy-wise. He's got a couple of daily casts ticking over. He's already got his wild side.
He would have been in such a strong position had he burned down those 2 Elis. He could have dropped the medium next turn.
He could have. I mean, you'd expect something to get installed, but yeah, I agree. And now he's got to kind of build up. He's
got the economy now as well. He's got the 2 daily casts ticking over. He's got his ESOPs.
He can't cheaply check.
He's sold the
Centrals
medium.
Either.
He sold the medium, Johno.
Yeah, he got his money back, but yeah, not a profit.
He's in a worse position than he was before because of that one slight mistake.
But that's how it is, right? I mean, pay attention to board state, but it's been a long day and it's late, so you can easily make
you can't
mistakes.
criticise that much. But I was speaking to Jerry yesterday at the tournament we were playing, and he says he feels the board state more than specifically focuses on individual things, and maybe that's something he needs to focus on a little bit as a player.
Okay,
he's certainly a very strong player, but there's always room for improvement for everyone.
Okay, so he's got Faust now, which means that he can pressure quite strongly, and in fact he checked HQ, just pop. But with Wildside, it means he can now be fairly aggressive, and he can also be aggressive on any remotes that might form. Laurie seems to be playing very slowly though. He still hasn't started building any meaningful remote.
Yeah, which is worrying now that the noise mill is back online. I mean, Joey's in a strong position now, even with that mistake.
Yeah. You'd like to see at least 1 or 2 pieces of ice. I mean, Joey did trash the Caprice out of Laurie's hand, so you never know, that might have gone down behind a piece of ice this turn. But you'd like to have seen Laurie maybe have a little bit of faith in his centrals and start to kind of build a board state in a remote.
So we've got a naked Sunju here, which is something you'll only really ever see with the
ELP. Yeah. I'm a little surprised Joey hasn't still tried to run it. I mean, he can get into
bounce off the Eli or check through the pup. And
I mean, he can pay 2 to access HQ. He's not rich, but you have a look and then he can go off.
He's not rich, but he's not poor either. That's not a bad amount of credits for this kind of noise deck.
Yeah, and you never know. You'll see a piece of ice for later down the road, or you might get to trash a Caprice or something. It's worth it.
I don't think you check archives here in case it's a crick, but.
No, I think I agree with that.
That's a pain in the ass for Faust to break.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, Faust to struggle.
So here's a nice play. He'll get a mill. He can check HQ now.
Yeah, even more reason to pressure. Although he.
No, something we've forgotten.
He's still got click 4.
He hasn't got the chronotype on the board, so he's struggling against the ELP.
He's got 3 click turns. Yeah, that's right. He did install it that turn. No, wait, no, he didn't. I'm sorry. Skipped ahead in my little log. You're right. He is struggling with 3 click turns, and ELP is strong. He's got to spend most of his turn to make 1 run. Running after the remotes becomes problematic. So, yeah.
It's still just a matter of time though. He will draw into it.
So, do you think he'll actually use this lamprey, or do you think he'll sell it?
I think he'll use it and then he'll sell it next turn.
He can sell the daily casts, I guess.
So So I think this is the turn that he'll check behind the pup and then trash the Sunju.
Yeah.
And then next turn he can sell the Lamprey.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you may be right.
I mean, one credit, to be honest, is neither here nor there to Laurie at this point, but...
So, still nothing from Laurie. I mean, I don't know.
This is very worrying now.
He may have got unlucky and not drawn much ice. He did install the pup over HQ, trashing what was already there. He hasn't installed any ice apart from that. Maybe he's just kind of waiting for, I'm not sure, toll boost and things like that. And you get the feeling that, shortly he'll want to stop being asked in R&D. You feel like those Elis are short-lived.
It's a very troubling situation for Laurie right now. I can only assume he's running sort of 18 or 19 pieces of ice in this deck, but he's only seen 4 of them right now.
So it looks like he's considering putting some ice in R&D, which will defend a little bit against that. But he's very much playing Noise's game at the moment.
Yeah. It's pretty troubling that Laurie hasn't managed to set up a remote at all.
So
he lost the Caprice, as you pointed out, from HQ earlier.
Yeah.
But
So installing a remote, it's not rare, so it's not a Sunju. Could be a Mental Health or a second Jackson, maybe.
Could be a sneaky 3-2.
Could be a sneaky 3-2. I would like that very much. Or even a Caprice that he's going to put ice on next turn,
I
something
think
like that.
Joey's probably not going to check it with the ELP on the board at this point.
No, I don't think it will.
If he's not trashing
but
a fully viewed Sunju, he's not going to check this.
But Laurie might think that he would check HQ. So maybe if he's got the option of putting ice or a Caprice down, he might put the Caprice down.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so we are going to get a run on HQ, and Lamprey does fire. So you can see down trash a Batty. Yep, reasonable.
Joey getting some nice
good.
pulls here.
That's the best one to access those cards.
Absolutely. You don't want them in the remote or on the route of R&D or anything like that.
So, Joe's still thinking, which is interesting because he is out clicks wildside for fired only around HQ, so easy to get cheating and taking a 4-click turn. But he's going to have a look at R&D. He does blow up all the Elis, so let's see what he pulls off the top.
So
in fact, I don't know what it was.
Laurie not resing that outer piece of ice either.
No, he did put it there, but apparently for no benefit.
I mean, Laurie's a much better player
DBS,
than me,
okay.
so it'd be interesting to find out what he thinks about those kind of choices.
Yeah, he seems a little. I mean, he doesn't look like a RP player that's been playing for 10 turns. Just doesn't have a
this
strong
DBS
presence.
will hopefully help him out. And
Yeah, he can start to get what he needs.
If Joey could trash this, I think it'd just severely set back Laurie's
I feel like
board.
is it the priority though? I feel like maybe Jackson's the priority here. If
Maybe,
in fact, if anything, it might be worth running this Jackson just to flush it out. I mean, you feel like when you run it, it will go away. There's probably at least one agenda in the archives, but I feel like it should be a priority of Joe's to try and get it off the board. It's beneficial. He may not even have to pay because it probably would get used.
Well, it's a choice of 3 clicks versus 1 click and
That's true.
3 cards from Faust, right? So
3 clicks to check
through
it. Yeah.
What we're presuming is a crit.
Yeah, it's 3 clicks to check. So. So there's the pancakes.
Yeah, finally. All right. Joey's pretty much completely set up now.
Yeah. So he's back to 4-click turns, which is obviously good against
he's got 2
ELP.
clicks now,
Yeah.
but next turn he'll be back.
So he's going to blow up Pop. Okay.
Lamprey.
Lamprey. He doesn't have any clicks left to run with though, so that's just for next turn. So now Laurie has to try and defend HQ, and is another turn removed from starting to set up a remote. So the pressure, the noise pressure here is really telling. Joey is relentlessly
Thing is,
trying
if
to
you
trash all
have
the
a
ice.
remote, then the HQ pressure isn't that important. You
That's
can
true.
just pass
That
it
is- yeah.
straight from R&D into the remote.
That is true. Yeah.
But he's not really in a position to do that right now, which means he does need to shore up HQ, which delays his remote further.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not necessarily true, because he can put the agendas on the bottom with the DBS right now while he stabilises.
Yes, he
He's
can.
probably just
Yeah.
looking for ice.
That does make it more dense later. You imagine it'll be shuffled to Jackson at some point.
Yeah, I mean, at some point... Yeah, I mean, the Jackson shuffle will happen in this game because of Noise's ability. But seeing all the agendas kind of quite quick in a quite quick space of time isn't bad if you've got the RP remote set up. You can just score them out and chain them out really quickly.
That's true. But I mean, if Joey starts developing some kind of R&D lock, then he'd be very fruitful.
I mean, I think it's kind of a moot point because Jackson will get used to reshuffle R&D at some point.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, okay. So,
Joey doing some wild gesticulation.
Yeah, he is, yeah. So, I'm not sure what you do here as Laurie. I mean, if you've got ice, I guess you put it on HQ.
It depends if you've got things to defend, right? I mean, he can sustain a few turns of being hit with this lamprey.
The thing is, there must be agendas around. In fact, we can see a Future Perfect in his hand. There must be agendas because only Hades fragments come out. There's nothing on the table. There might be a couple in the bin, but the chances are Laurie's drawn one by now.
So I'm wondering whether all his ice has been milled, and it's looking like a fair bit has. So he interns
an Elim to HQ. I mean, that's a click-intensive way of shoring it up. Suggests also he doesn't have any, decent ice in hand, and also that the fact that he had to do that means that Joey knows exactly what it is, so he goes into it knowing. So he can run on click 1, for instance, and know what it is. Well, that would take his whole turn because of ELP.
This game really turned on that steal of the Hades fragment, where Laurie then lost the cerebral static, and I'd be fascinated to know what the ice was that he wasn't willing to res it at that point.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, so only a pop on our archives.
We haven't discussed it, but Joey doesn't even have to take a TFP to win this game.
No, that's true. So he's got 3 points, and you make a good point. Generally speaking, against RP, traditional RP, you're going to luckily steal one Nisei, you're going to pay to steal one NAPD, and you're going to luckily steal one Future Perfect. So he's got his 3 points, though, which means he only needs 2 steals. And if
kind of another reason I dislike the agenda in RP.
And if he's got the money, then NAPD's free to steal. It's not free, but I mean it's easy to steal. Yeah, it doesn't require second runs.
Effort,
that's it. And being able to run archives with say 8 credits means that Laurie can't even recklessly leave an NAPD there. So it's.
I mean, we've seen certain people recklessly leave an extra TFP in the bin in their game.
That's true. That was in that was in the last game.
The previous version of this game.
Yeah. Oh dear.
4 agendas, only 1 Jackson.
Okay, so there is a Future Perfect in archives. So
Laurie's rich enough to keep playing side games, and Joey kind of isn't. So.
Yeah.
Having already got the 3 points, this is just another agenda at that point. It's not really a big deal.
Yeah, so Laurie wins that game. It's interesting that he left it in archives. We mentioned that it was during a run on archives, and Laurie returned 3 cards, but left the Future Perfect. So I guess we can interpret that he had a bunch of other agendas like Niseis and things.
Either that, or he really feels that he needs ice back in his deck to stabilise, and he's willing to give up a second agenda score.
I mean, in many ways, because of the ELP, Joey's going to struggle. That's the other thing. If he lets this agenda go, if you like, then ELP goes away, and that's kind of the one thing that Laurie's holding on to at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's in some ways it's one of the stronger parts of his board. He's getting lots of work out of the things he has resed, so he's getting the DBS fire and then 3 credits every turn from.
And Joey's just not running remotes. I don't think he's running remote in the entire game. So the ice on remotes is kind of, I guess, unless you're putting it over an agenda, it's kind of meaningless. But I feel like Joey's perfectly happy to play the game he is playing, of central pressure.
Now Joey's in a very strong position now.
He doesn't really have the clicks to effectively go after remotes anyway. So we've got an upgrade in R&D. Batty maybe? I feel like Caprice. That's not a well-placed Caprice if you want to start create remote. And that is worth mentioning. Unlike fast advanced builds, RP needs to build a remote. It can't score without leaving advanced cards on the table. It can't win.
The remote needs to be solid, and you need to have a credit advantage normally to stop the runner.
And he does have a financial advantage, So let's see. So Joe's going to install medium again. So whatever this is on R&D, this upgrade. Let's find out what we got.
So Laurie finally resing some ice.
So just some confusion about how many clicks Joey has left, which is
There we
relevant.
go. It's the itchy.
Because it's itchy, it's a Batty itchy. Now, Joey is well familiar with this combo, because he's playing it on the day.
Well, or
So
the
you can-
equivalent with the Grail Ice, right?
Yeah, so you can fire Batty during approach, of course, to trigger the itchy ability, trashing the only breaker that the runner has, which means that all the other
He's
subroutines
got
fire.
no clone chip either, so
Yeah, there's no clone chip on the table.
it's a side
it's
game for
quite-
potentially a pretty devastating setback to Joey's board.
Hmm.
So it's last click, so
So he won, and he won by paying 0. Oof.
Laurie,
That is-
wily
That is
dog.
bold, yeah. So, Faust is trashed.
Like-
Sorry, he hasn't actually said it yet, but Faust will be trashed. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, and then he'll tank 2 other programs, right?
Yeah, so he has 1 click remaining, because he ran on click 2 and 3.
Did he? Oh, I thought he
Yes.
ran click 3 and 4.
No, he installed medium and then ran. That's all he did this turn.
What's he got? He's got a David, a data sucker and a medium.
Yeah, so he could... he's thinking about clicking the trace, which is quite reasonable, because he doesn't
Yeah.
want to get tagged.
That's true.
So he does, in fact, break the trace
Wow.
subroutine, which is bold, and he... yeah, so he loses...
No, he must have broken one of the program trashes.
No,
because-
Laurie's... He broke the trace, and Laurie's choosing what...
Ah.
So he chose medium, he's choosing which other program.
Right, okay.
Tough one. I think there's a load of parasites in the bin, so I think he opts for Data Sucker. David depends on what... Yeah, so
Yeah,
it's Data
I think
Sucker.
you take this data sucker here.
I mean, maybe David, depending on what you've got.
He doesn't have any remote, as we've discussed ad nauseum. So
That's true, yeah,
it
but...
kind of doesn't matter.
I mean, if you had, say, a toll booth in hand
Yeah.
and was thinking of building a remote with it, he might kill David. That kind of thing. Okay, so... a
So
fairly large swing
Yeah,
there.
now's the window for Laurie if he can get something going here.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it's a shame he hasn't got the remote to
So I wonder
use that
what
window in.
Joey will probably fall back on the tried and tested play viruses, mill
power
cards.
mill, yeah. I mean, might drop a Hades shard at some point. I'm assuming he's got it.
I don't think he was running it. I think he was running
Oh,
3 clone chip.
surprising. Oh, okay. So there's no ice on archives even, so actually he can just run, of course, now. It gives Jackson a window, but... Yeah.
One of those face down ones might be another Jackson, but there's 2 already spent. So here comes the remote.
Yeah, so this might be it.
Install advance.
Yeah, so
No?
he does install,
Yes.
an advance. So he wants a
yeah.
new card. So presumably that card that was lying around was a Caprice that Joey never checked.
It might be an Ash.
It could be an Ash, that
It
would
might
do.
not be an Ash actually, because the influence might be on this ELP.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not sure where he's freed
Ash,
up that
Ash is
influence
obviously
from.
good.
Yeah.
Good card for a kind of Glacier. Especially Click Tax.
He might have dropped one of the toll booths that you see in this deck quite a lot.
And it looked like this was a Nisei, because I think we saw a Nisei in his hand, and if it was, that's big. Because it suddenly gives Laurie a real possibility. So going to
Joey
run on
checking
archives.
archives.
So I believe the Future Perfect is still there. And there's
Oh,
a Nisei. Oh
wow.
dear. Alright, and there's no Jackson on the table, obviously. So this could be it. Let's see. Alright. No Jackson. Oof.
Well, Laurie's got to win some side games here.
Yeah, he does. So he does win. Now Joey obviously has 2 clicks remaining. He's
The
spent
ELP
2 clicks.
is gone now, right? So
Yeah. The ELP is gone. Yes, you make a good point. Although he still had to pay the
Yeah.
extra click this turn. Okay, so he wins the side game again. Does Joey go again on click 4? He's only got 1 credit now,
No, you
and
don't go
so
again.
you don't bother. But you probably take credit or install Data Sucker, which he can sell.
I think Joey's
Sell
on
for
for,
profit.
on for the mill plan here. He can make a run every time he feels he's seen enough new cards to give a decent attempt at finding something. As long as he's got 4 credits for the NAPD that he might mill, then he's in a decent situation. I mean,
Yeah.
is Laurie running any NAPDs? So we
I don't remember actually.
if you assume he's running 3 Future Perfects and the Hades Fragment, that's 12 points.
Yeah.
No, he's not. He's running 3 Future Perfects, the
ELP,
Hades Fragment,
sorry, Philotic.
the Philotic,
That's the
and
other one.
3 Nisei.
Yeah.
So there's not even any NAPDs in this deck.
Yeah. Okay. So with no ELP, suddenly Joe's a lot more able to do some central pressure, and he can run archives.
Alright.
Okay.
Well, that's one way to shore up a
So,
central
do you,
server.
now, do you run it anyway if you're Joey? I mean, there's a real risk there's some Batty hijinks going on here.
Do you care about losing either of those programs? What is
But,
it? A
but
data
what if
software
it's
and a David?
what if it's a Batty Cortex lock or something? I mean...
Oh, Johno, you love to rub it in. I got flatlined by Dave Hoyland in a
Oh, did you?
recent,
Oh, I did not know
recent tournament
that. I
by
apologise.
a Batty Cortex lock.
That's a good. It's a good
It was
play.
bad,
Yeah.
He destroyed me.
He's a good player. And that's a good play.
I never knew that he was a good player, Johno. Thanks for that information.
Yes.
Fantastic player is Mr. Hoyland.
Okay. So meanwhile, and this is, I mean, there's a Future Perfect in archives, of course, but you know, Joey's still milling with his free clicks.
I mean,
so
it might be worth forcing him to res.
So what's interesting here is that there's still what we assume is an agenda in this remote because Laurie spent his time defending archives. He installed it once, so we might see.
He's advanced it a second time though,
Yeah.
so it might be a TFP.
I mean, yeah,
No,
I guess I
it's
assume
an
it's still an
okay.
Nisei, yeah.
So he's got a click spare then now, has he?
Yeah, he's
So
got
put
one click
something
left,
else in
yeah.
the remote.
And it has Tagore checks the ice. And in a pinch, he can use the Nisei counter to protect that Future Perfect for one click if he needs it.
It's the saddest use of a Nisei counter ever, Jono.
But
But
if
you know,
he's-
you can do it.
Yeah, if he's on the kind of game-winning turn and he
Yep.
just needs to guarantee it. He's got the money to play several side games, so
Laurie's fine for money this game now.
yeah, that's true. I think he's done. And you know, Joe's got no interest in running this mental health or Sunju.
Well, he's certainly shown that he doesn't care.
Yeah, he's just indifferent.
I mean, it's a reasonable outlook on the state of affairs because Joey's always going to be poorer than Laurie in this deck. So
I think Joey's been put off by this ice and upgrade on archives. Now I don't know what they are, but whatever they are, the conviction with which Laurie played them was enough to put Joey off. So I mean,
well, sometimes that's all it takes, Johnny.
yeah, I mean, it could maybe it's an ash. I mean,
Might
maybe it's
be.
yeah.
If it is an ash, you're laughing, right?
Yeah. Maybe it's just some upgrade just to make it
And you probably
go
prefer
away.
it to be a caprice because then Joey has to win 2 side games in order to.
Or it could be like a Batty and a pup or something. It could just be something that's it's just there for show.
Yeah.
Be interesting to know what it is actually. So he sells to David, which is not unreasonable given what he's seen and the
Perfect.
you know.
I mean, so something we didn't say was that David could be used to get through a crick on archives.
That's true. Yeah, that is true. It's only one sub as well, so it's not bad. So just having a good thing. It's going to install Imp, okay, and
And a
Clot
clock just for the
for money because that's a blank card. Yeah, there'll be no fast
Joey
advance.
forgets the virus counter on the clock that he gets from Grimoire.
Actually, Brenda reminded me of that exact thing. Yeah,
Oh, me and Brendan are two peas in a pod.
you
Both-
pedant.
Yeah, both pedants.
yeah, you're right. So Clot does indeed have a kind of
Irrelevant virus.
vacuous virus counter on it. Okay, so but the Imp, does he run HQ? And no, he doesn't. He just takes money.
I think, yeah, he's just.
So is he going to
just
sell
playing
the
for
Imp as well?
mills. He'll sell the clot first, but
Sell the
probably.
Clot, yeah.
Aesop's pawn shop must be full of
Flotic.
the digital corpses of him.
So there was a Flotic on the table, so that's good. Oh, and it does 2 damage as well. Deja Vu and Corroder. Decent cards. He's lost his Faust actually, so that could be good if he's got a wraparound or something, or even an Eli on a remote. Okay, so now Laurie's got 4 points. Is it so a Future Perfect or something in the
He's
remote?
got 4 points in a Nisei token. This is normally
this is
when you feel
reasonable.
quite confident as RP, but his deck is looking very thin,
And
right?
there's a Future Perfect in archives. So
Yeah.
if he's got a Future Perfect in hand, does he install double advance next turn? I think he does, right?
I mean, and you try and win through some side games here.
Just go for it. Or maybe on the other hand, it's Laurie's turn to just hit archives. Just start trying to get that Future Perfect. Start forcing some side games.
So that clot, not long for the world.
Sells the Clot, yeah. Just for money, which is reasonable. And let's see.
See, Joey has enough money now to play a few side games with full kind of range of credits, which is good.
Yeah. So what's he got in hand? He's got Imp. I might like to see him hit HQ a couple of times. You never know, he might be able to Imp out a Future Perfect. Mimic.
What's that the Mimic?
Mimic and Data Sucker will get into R&D, okay. So he can maybe put a little bit of pressure on R&D. And he can Imp, he can get a couple of runs in. Quite like
Wait,
this.
he can get a couple.
So he does indeed mimic through the Ichi and sees Nisei, and let's go. Okay, good. Wow, that was quite a slog, and so there was a lot of momentum changes in that game.
Yeah, Laurie was on the back foot for a lot of the middle portion of that game.
Yeah, I mean, he got the early cerebral up, and that kind of nullified a lot of Joey's strategy, and then he somewhat flukily pulled out that Hades fragment, and cerebral static went away.
I really want to know what that ice was and why Laurie didn't res it, because I feel like normally, even if you think it's a 1 in 5 chance, it's also a 1 in 5 chance of letting Joey just back into the game.
Yeah, that's it.
Because without Noise's ID ability, that matchup goes from being a kind of pain in the ass for RP to being almost a walk in the park.
And he had, so Laurie had, I think it was 11 credits. So he had a decent amount of money.
I doubt there's a single piece of ice he couldn't have rezzed in that situation in his deck.
Yeah, I mean, you'd think that, you'd think you could afford it,
so
whatever it was.
So the only thing I can think of was maybe a Susanu, and he didn't want to force Joey to run archives because there was an agenda in there.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. Maybe Laurie will tell us. He might not remember. It was a long time back.
Yeah, I don't know. Interesting. So after Joey pulled the cerebrostatic and killed pulled the Hades fragment and killed the cerebrostatic, he got into the game a lot more. The mills started coming, and Laurie wasn't able to really stabilise. Because Joey was pressuring the ice. He had a very kind of aggressive parasite strategy. He was trashing. He blocked both the Eli's and R&D. There's only a pup on HQ, so he could get in. So he was very. There was a great deal of pressure, and Laurie wasn't able to defend against that pressure and also build up state. RP tends to win late, and that's normally because it's built a good remote.
So I think what happened there was midway through the game, we saw Joey check archives and Laurie show basically he flipped everything over, and there was an awful lot of ice in there. So I think Joey milled quite a bunch of ice with some of those mid-game mills, and it prevented Laurie from really solidifying his board.
So, and the other thing to mention is that when it was running archives and the Jackson removed 3 face-down cards and left a future perfect, so do we assume that meant there were 4 agendas?
I don't know.
I guess we do, right? I mean, you wouldn't leave... It is a future perfect, but you still remove the agendas.
Yeah, right? It's not... It's no different to any other agenda at that point, because he's already stolen 3 points.
Unless you think he... And you mentioned during the video, unless you think he desperately needed ice.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It may have been that he lost a bunch of agendas.
Yeah, he's in a very tough spot. Okay, so Laurie was eliminated by Joey. So Joey got his revenge.
Yeah, he did finally
from
get
earlier.
revenge, yeah.
From earlier in the in elimination when he was knocked into the loser bracket by Laurie. So he beat him, and he will go into the final.
Yeah, local hero Joey.
Yeah,
against Oxford oppressor.
Yeah,
Steve.
so we have Reading Oxford final, and they're the ones we love.
All you could want for the final of the Reading leg of the BABW.
That's right, and we like a good Reading Oxford matchup around these parts.
We like talking about it.
We do.
We like commiserating when Oxford take our stuff.
Yes, that's right. So we should mention that now Laurie had already qualified, I think, for the BABW finals.
Him and Tagore went to Athena in Norwich and took their qualifications.
Took their prizes, locals, obviously.
Yeah, pillaging around the south of the UK.
And so Joey and Stu, it would be that represent.
Neither of them had qualified yet, have they?
So they got the seats.
Yeah.
But they get to play in the final because on the day we also had a copy of Data and Destiny for the winner, which was quite the price to play for.
It was at the time,
And as important as that, probably, it was the bell.
The bell.
Which represents the dominance of the Reading and Oxford meta, which meta has the upper hand in the age-old rivalry between the two towns. So, that'll be a good game, and it was a good game.
It was a very good game,
and I recommend that viewers watch that because it's entertainment,
spectacular,
thrills and spills in that game. So, that's it. So I'm looking forward to that. So thank you, James, for helping me out with this video.
Thanks for having me, John.
Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.